You're scrolling Zillow at midnight. Two listings, same city. One is a 4-bedroom in a nice neighborhood, $500,000. The other is a 3-bedroom 20 minutes further out, $300,000. Your real estate agent says stretch for the bigger one. The bank says you qualify. Your parents say buy the most house you can afford. Everyone is telling you to go big. What if every one of them is wrong? What if I told you that the family who buys the $300,000 house will be over $200,000 richer in 15 years than the family who stretches for the $500,000 house? Not because they got lucky, not because they timed the market, because of math that your lender, your agent, and your parents never showed you. And once you see this math, you will never look at a mortgage the same way again. My name is Mark, and I spend way too much time staring at mortgage calculators and wondering why the biggest financial decision most people ever make is based on a formula designed by the people who profit from it. If you've ever stared at a Zillow listing wondering whether you're about to build wealth or bury yourself in debt, make sure you hit subscribe. Because the math I break down on this channel is the math nobody in real estate wants you to see. Here's the thing, we've all been taught the same story about home ownership. Buy the most house you can afford. Real estate always goes up. Your home is your biggest investment. The bigger the house, the bigger the payoff. It sounds mathematically obvious. If a $300,000 house appreciates 10%, you gain $30,000. If a $500,000 house appreciates 10%, you gain $50,000. Bigger house, bigger gain, except that math is missing something critical. It's missing where the other $200,000 actually goes every month. It's missing the costs that don't show up on the listing, and it's missing the opportunity you destroyed the moment you signed for the bigger mortgage. To understand why this happens, you need to understand who benefits when you buy the biggest house possible. Your real estate agent earns a commission based on the sale price. A $500,000 house pays them roughly $15,000. A $300,000 house pays them $9,000. They don't make more money by finding you the right house. They make more money by finding you the most expensive house you'll say yes to. Your mortgage lender earns interest on the total loan amount. More borrowed, more earned. Over 30 years, the difference between a $300,000 mortgage and a $500,000 mortgage isn't $200,000. It's closer to $400,000 in total payments. Half of that difference is pure interest. That's money flowing from your pocket to theirs for 3 decades. And here's the part nobody talks about. The affordability formula your bank uses wasn't designed to measure what's good for you. It was designed to measure the maximum you can pay without defaulting. Those are very different things. One asks, what builds your wealth? The other asks, what can we extract without you going bankrupt? The entire system is calibrated to push you to your limit, not past it, just right up against the edge where you can technically survive but never actually get ahead. And that's where the real math starts to get interesting. Let me introduce you to 2 families, the Nguyens and the Carters. Both couples are 32. Both earn a combined $110,000 a year. Both have 1 kid, another on the way. Both are shopping for a house in the same metro area in 2026. The Carters do what everyone tells them to do. They stretch. They buy a $500,000 house with 10% down. Monthly payment, principal, interest, taxes, insurance, roughly $3,400 a month. The Nguyens do something different. They buy a $300,000 house. Same 10% down. Monthly payment, about $2,100. $1,300 a month apart. That's the gap. Now, most people look at that gap and think the Carters made the smarter move. Bigger house, better neighborhood, more appreciation potential. But let me walk you through what actually happens over the next 15 years, because the math tells a completely different story. The first hidden cost is what I call the stretch premium. When you buy at your maximum, you don't just pay a bigger mortgage. You pay a tax on flexibility that compounds every single month. The Carters are spending 31% of their gross income on housing. The Nguyens are spending 23%. That 8% gap doesn't sound like much, but here's what it actually means. The Carters can't absorb a surprise, a medical bill, a car repair, a job transition. Every unexpected expense goes on a credit card because there's no margin. The Nguyens have $1,300 a month of breathing room. When the transmission dies, they write a check. Over 5 years, the Carters accumulate an average of $14,000 in revolving credit card debt from these emergencies. At 22% interest, that's $3,000 a year in interest alone. Money that's literally on fire. The Nguyens have 0 credit card debt because they had margin. But that's not even the biggest cost. The second hidden cost is the opportunity burn. This is the real opportunity cost that nobody calculates for you. Remember that $1,300 a month the Nguyens aren't spending on a bigger mortgage? They invest it. Not in anything exotic. A simple S&P 500 index fund averaging 7% annually. After 15 years, that $1,200 to $1,300 a month has grown into something the Carters don't have and can't replicate. Nearly $400,000 in liquid investments. That's not home equity. That's money they can actually touch. Money that generates income, money that buys freedom. The Carters have a bigger house, but their wealth is trapped inside the walls. It's illiquid. They can't spend their kitchen renovation. They can't retire on their extra square footage. Now you might be thinking, sure, but the bigger house appreciated more, right? That $500,000 house is probably worth a lot more now. And you're right. But here's the part that most people completely miss. The third hidden cost is what I call the equity illusion. Let's say both houses appreciate at the same rate, 3% a year, reasonable for most of America. After 15 years, the Carters' house is worth about $780,000. The Nguyens' house is worth about $467,000. The Carters gained $280,000 in home equity. The Nguyens gained $167,000. So the Carters won, right? Not even close. Because home equity is a number on a screen. It's not money in your pocket. To access that equity, you either sell the house and pay closing costs, take out a loan against it and pay interest, or do a cash out refinance and restart your mortgage clock. Every way to touch your home equity costs money. It's wealth you can see but can't use without paying a toll. The Nguyens $450,000 in index funds. They can sell any Tuesday morning and have cash in their account by Thursday. No closing costs, no realtor fees, no 6-month selling process. And here's where the math gets uncomfortable. The fourth hidden cost is the property tax drag. Bigger houses cost more to maintain, not a little more, proportionally more. The general rule is 1% of home value per year in maintenance. For the Carters, that's $5,000 a year. For the Nguyens, $3,000. $2,000 a year in extra maintenance alone. Then add the property tax drag. Higher assessed value means higher taxes every single year. Higher insurance premiums, higher utility bills for the extra square footage. The $500,000 house leaks more wealth every year through costs that never stop compounding. And there's no lifestyle creep guardrail on a bigger house. A bigger house needs bigger furniture, more landscaping, more repairs, more everything. Each upgrade feels small. Together, they destroy your margin. The bigger house doesn't just cost more to buy, it costs more to own. Every single month, for as long as you live there. And that brings us to the number that changes everything. So let's finally answer the question. After 15 years, who's actually richer? The Carters have a bigger house with about $280,000 in equity, but they also have credit card debt they're still paying off. Minimal savings, no investment portfolio. Their net worth outside the house is close to zero. The Nguyens have a smaller house with $167,000 in equity, plus nearly $400,000 in liquid investments generating income, plus zero debt, plus the ability to walk away from their jobs whenever they want. Total net wealth. The Carters, roughly $280,000 locked inside their walls. The Nguyens, over $550,000, most of it liquid, accessible, working for them. The family who bought the worse house is over $250,000 richer. $250,000. That's not a rounding error. That's a life-changing amount of money. That's early retirement. That's your kid's college fund. That's the freedom to say no to a job you hate. And it all came from one decision: buying less house. Let that sink in. So why didn't you see this? Why doesn't anyone see this? Because your brain does something dangerous when it sees a house. It stops doing math and starts telling stories. You don't see a mortgage. You see the backyard where your kids will play. You see the neighborhood with the good school. You see yourself in that kitchen, cooking on a Sunday morning with the light coming in. You're not making a financial decision anymore. You're making an identity decision. This is the house of the person I want to be, and every person in the transaction knows this. The agent shows you the nicer house last, so it feels like an upgrade. The lender pre-approves you for the maximum, so you anchor on that number. Your friends just bought something big, so you feel behind. You don't build a financial plan around the house. You build a story around the house, and then you find the financial plan that justifies the story. That's not stupidity. That's human wiring exploited by a system that profits from your maximum spend. You fell into it because everyone around you was falling into it too. Now you might be thinking, okay, great, but I already bought my house. Or I can't afford anything in my city for $300,000, and I get it. Every market is different, Every situation is different. But here's the mindset shift that changes everything, whether you've already bought or you're still looking. I call it the margin first method. Instead of asking, what's the most house I can afford, you ask a completely different question. What's the least house I can be happy in, and what does the gap buy me? This one question flips the entire decision. Because now you're not comparing houses, you're comparing the house to what the money does if it stays in your hands. That extra $500 a month isn't saving, it's buying you years of your life back. That extra $1,000 a month isn't downgrading, it's funding the portfolio that makes work optional at 50 instead of 65. If you've already bought, run the math. Calculate your real monthly cost, mortgage, taxes, insurance, maintenance, utilities. Then ask yourself, if I could go back, would I buy this house? Or would I buy something smaller and invest the difference? If you haven't bought yet, I want you to do one thing this weekend. Open a mortgage calculator. Put in two numbers, the house you want and a house that's 20% cheaper. Calculate the monthly difference. Then go to a compound interest calculator and see what that difference becomes in 15 years at 8%. Write down both numbers. The house you want versus the future that money could have bought. I guarantee that number will change how you think about square footage. The families who build real wealth aren't the ones with the biggest houses. They're the ones who understood that the house is where you live, not where you store your net worth. You can earn your way into an expensive mortgage, but you can't earn your way out of a trap you don't know you're in. Now you know? If this changed how you see the biggest purchase of your life, send it to someone who's house shopping right now. They're probably about to make this exact mistake. And I want to know your number. What's the gap between the house you bought and the house you needed? Drop it in the comments. Because at the end of the day, the most expensive thing you'll ever buy isn't a house. It's the life you couldn't live because the house ate everything. Once you see this math, you can't unsee it.